Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Four Roses single barrel. Dustin, this particular one is the OBSQ 10-year-old, 10 years and 2 months old. Yeah, so this is the OBSQ recipe. So what this is supposed to be is floral, rose petal, spicy, medium bodied. So Dustin, we haven't done a lot of Four Roses here on the channel.
Maybe not any.
Yeah, maybe not any, now that I think of it. But we have quite a few, and this is a great whiskey.
Yeah.
So we're going to do more Four Roses here for you guys. So anybody who's a fan of this whiskey, know that more reviews of this will be coming.
Yeah, we're going to try. I've got a few of these. We've got the single barrels. We've got some limited editions. So we've been remiss in bringing one of the big distilleries in Kentucky, really.
Yeah. When you said that, like, have you done a Four Roses? Like, how could we not have? But here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
So this is the high rye mash bill, guys. The 35% rye. So I think that for most bourbon drinkers, that's what we focus on. But
yeah,
they talk a lot about these yeast strains, and I don't know enough about it to really jump in. I'm unfortunately not an aficionado because, well, it takes a lot of Four Roses to be an expert on 10 different recipes.
For sure. I've always enjoyed Four Roses. A couple of our buddies are big fans. Beautiful caramel color.
I don't think we mentioned, but this is 58.2, so really nice
ABV.
ABV and a warehouse JE. I don't know what that means, really, but I'm sure experts out there will.
Yes, and I did not mention that, so I appreciate that, Dustin. But 10 years and 2 months, good age.
That's definitely on the medium high side, I think, for the Four Roses single barrel picks.
If you want a Scotch equivalent, it's about an 18-year-old whiskey. 18-year-old Scotch.
Yeah.
Roughly. All right, let's get into us.
Man, I love this nose. I've forgotten how much I like this particular bottle. Although I think the fill level tells you I've been enjoying it, buddy.
Four Roses are always delicious whiskeys. They remind me, it's kind of in some ways of, say, like an E.H. Taylor. They're never really super pungent in any way. They kind of have a nice... They're richer than E.H. Taylors, but, they are never an overpowering
No, man, there's a lot of spice on this thing.
There is a lot of spice.
I mean, I'm getting like...
As a matter of fact, spices, I would say it's dominant. No, I mean, it's some sweetness, but it is spicy.
I keep going back and forth between, like, I'm getting almost like a creme brulee note, and then I'm getting this, like, rice spice, like, with a little bit of red fruit. And I can't get them at the same time, Mike. I keep getting them separate.
Mm-hmm. Along with that little slight baby powder note.
Okay, I'm not getting that, but I can see where you're getting. I'm getting like a super rich old bourbon note on here. I mean, it's coming off like it's like well aged.
Definitely comes off at least 10 years old. It probably comes off more like 12.
I mean, I'm getting some notes that every now and then make me start to think 20.
There's a dusty quality to it. It's kind of in with that baby powder note. Baby powder slight dustiness.
It's funny. I mean, I'm getting notes that make me think old, and I get notes that don't. It's a hard one to put down. I mean, it's really just nice, really spicy. I don't know if I use the word rose petals, but it definitely has like a lighter, fruity, and then, yes, a floral kind of spiciness.
Yeah, the only thing I would say as far as any type of petal, I wouldn't say even rose petals. There is sort of a lilac-ish, I wouldn't say lilac petal or something, but like an artificial scent smell to it in a good way.
Yeah, I want to say like there's kind of like a baking spice thing here, but I would say it's with the caveat that there's apple, cinnamon, forward. And by baking spice, Mike, we had somebody actually ask us recently what that meant, and it's kind of like, well, imagine you're in a bakery where they've just got all kinds of different spice things going on, and it's just sort of that cacophony of smells kind of coming together. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what this is, but I do think apple cinnamon maybe is coming forward for me.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of spice in this one, so it's really hard to nail down one. Cinnamon's probably there. Light pepper, maybe. White pepper.
I can see that. Actually, a little bit of powdered sugar.
I mean, really, you could throw out a lot of spices, and you could convince me they're here. Sage.
Yeah, no.
Parsley. Yeah, I mean, you could throw out a lot of spices.
If you said there's ginger in here, I'd believe you.
So we'll just call it Spice Rack. But
that's again baking spice. It's the whole bakery.
Yeah, so it is that is such a dominant note in this one. I mean, there's some sweetness, but it has a super dominant note.
Yeah.
This is definitely the spiciest whiskey we've tried in a while.
It's inviting though, man. That's what I really like. Is there's something about the sweetness behind it that makes that spiciness inviting versus being offensive, because this very easily could be offensive if it was any more
amped up in any direction. That's what I kind of meant by it was E.H. Taylor-esque, meaning like it's not really overpowering. No, it definitely has a lot richer flavors than that does, but it it takes you pretty close to the edge with a few things, and spice can get too much real quick, especially for me. What are you picking up on the palate?
It is another massive experience on the tongue. Huge spice up front with incredibly rich sweetness. What's interesting, though, with this particular bottle, it's going to sound weird because I'm talking about spice, but this is for a sweet lover because almost all of the flavor on this whiskey really focuses on the front of your tongue, which is where you taste the sweeter side of stuff. So it really is bringing in sweet spice, if that makes any sense. A little bit of oak, very balanced, very nice. Definitely getting those apples.
When you said sweet spice, I was going to say, yeah, because it's 90% spice with just some sweetness at the end to kind of hold it all together, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's very spice forward, even more so than on the nose. On the palate is extremely spice forward. But you're right. The whole experience was basically on the front of the tongue. The mid palate really thinned out quickly. Mm-hmm. And the linger kind of dissipated, kind of faded. I mean, it's still a little bit.
But usually when you taste spice, it should be like, your tongue has 7 receptors.
Yeah, it's not a stinging spice.
And it's all up front, on the front of the tongue, and then just into the mid, as you're just starting to taste it. But there's nothing on the sides, you're not getting the sour, the bitter. It's just one place on your tongue.
The front of your tongue. And really, as soon as you get past about a third of your tongue, there is no experience, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe it's gone numb, I don't know.
Well, the proof is not hidden here. In fact, I don't even remember if I put water, but more water is not going to hurt this thing. It's nice 58%.
Yeah, the show here just on the palate is just on the nose. The show is the spice. The sweetness is tying it all together, and there's a nice amount of sweetness to not make the spice overpowering. Because if there was not the sweetness here, that's all it would be.
If it was dry, this is a juicy bourbon. Oily, juicy. It's not like a Knob Creek, which can be very drying.
Well, it's more nutty, which comes off drying.
I think those rick houses also play a role in why they get drier.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. The experience, the mouthfeel, the richness of it, all that. Now, it's heavy spice, so I already know Mike is probably going to be, we're going to deviate on score here, I think, which is fine.
Yeah, you're more of a spice guy than I am. But if you want to get the score, let's get to it, and I'll even go first.
Go for it.
This is an 86 to me out of 100. Now, I'm saying that as an overall whiskey score. My enjoyment of that is slightly less. I would say my enjoyment is more like an 85.
You tried it with water?
Not yet.
And before you give it a score, do try it with water.
Okay, I'll try. I've nosed it, obviously.
Yeah, but I just noticed that once I added water, and I've forgotten this happening in the past, the experience is much more full mouth coating. It takes it up a little notch there.
The spices tamed down a little bit more sweet.
Yeah, but it's spread out everything a little bit more. A little less concentrated.
Still an 86.
Yeah.
Spice, as I've said before many times on this channel, in front of you, in front of everyone, spice is not my thing.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it down for that reason. Maybe this is actually more so in the whiskey construction, an 87 or an 88. But my enjoyment of it's about an 85, which I'm going to put it at an 86 because I don't know if the construction's that good and it's just not me, or if it's just too much spice. But again, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Where you at?
Well, I am polar opposite here. I am actually going to bring my score down
97?
from my 97. Jesus. I'm going to bring my score down from my enjoyment score because my enjoyment score on this is a 90.
Okay.
You
like spice?
I regret not buying more because the part that I love of this whiskey is the sweetness. The spice is it's almost like the spice makes the sweetness better, if that makes sense, because the spice is there and it makes that sweet part so much more enjoyable as it's like a contrast to it, and I love it.
I agree.
It's this apple, cinnamon. That apple note on this whiskey is just killing it for me, and there's probably another fruit in there too. Apple pear, I don't know.
Light fruit is what I
Yeah, it's light fruit, but it's got, and then it brings down the darkness of those charred barrels. Mm-hmm. I love this whiskey, Mike.
Give it to me.
I'm going to give it an 88, though, as the overall whiskey score, because just because I love it doesn't mean everybody is. This is definitely that level of spice is going to be a little polarizing. Yeah. It's a bold whiskey that doesn't do anything. It doesn't come off super old once you taste it. Nose gave me hints of age that could be high. Mm-hmm. Palate doesn't. And I've had this next to better Four Roses. You realize it's a 10-year-old whiskey.
This is like a lot of whiskeys. If it's your thing, it's your thing. You could throw a lot of young, heavily peated, stinky Islas in my face, and I would love them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you like spice, you're going to love this. Because you're right. It is, the sweetness ties it all together and makes it something unique and special.
If I could get this consistently, Mike, this to me would be my Lagavulin 12 of bourbon. There's something about this particular batch, and I wish I'd bought more, but this is, one of those, these are hard to get. And,
For sure.
And, with points and all this other stuff. Now, I've got I've got this 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, it's been a while, man. And just every time I go back to it, I love it. I hate the fact that Keith's probably going to drink the rest of this today.
But this goes to show you what flavor preference does. We're not really saying anything different as far as a score. He likes spice. I'm not as high on spice, and that's the difference between our scores. If I like spice, I would like this because, as you said, the spice note in this is really unique. It ties the whole thing together. I agree with every one of those points. It's just too spicy for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Anyway, if you guys had a chance to try this one, let us know what you guys think. Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
If you like it, happy spicy drinking.
For sure. See you next time.